Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Anyhow Anyway by Summer England, your literary chaos podcast. We talk all things bookish, cozy, writing routines, and then everything else in the world. Everyone, last week I was coming at you having published a book. This week I'm coming at you having published a book, and now I'm a USA Today best-selling author. Who in the world gave me the audacity? I mean, come on. I still am so titillated by the fact that I can walk in the middle of the road without anybody yelling at me to get onto the sidewalk, unless there's something that's going to cause me harm or death. And now I'm a USA Today bestselling author. Was I that last week? I don't remember. I actually don't remember. I can't remember. Who knows anything that I ever say? But anyway, this week I wanted to talk to you all about low stimulus mornings. Now, this is pretty specific to ye ol' neurodivergence, but my life is one that everything that I like to do happens to be public facing. Do I want attention? No, it's not about that. It's about the act of storytelling or what have you. I love to act not because of I like all of the intention, but I like to perform. I love to write not because I want to amass a bunch of whatever. I love to write. And similar with the podcast. Now, what that means is that as an autistic person, the last few weeks have been so amazing and also really difficult, not in a bad way, but in a way that I was completely expecting to happen, meaning that I have had a lot of author events. A lot, I mean, not a ton. I just had events that were of notable size and importance in quick succession with each other, along with performing for hundreds of people, several shows a week. And so it has been a lot of me on and not being able to turn it off. And as somebody who is introverted by nature, and the happiest I am is in silence in my garden with my kiddo, partner, possibly a friend, but in happy solitude, or at least working alongside somebody in quiet, that is its own challenge for me. And I had an author event on Saturday where people got to ask a bunch of questions, and they were really wonderful questions. And one of them was basically, as somebody who is introverted, how is it dealing with all of this? And so I wanted to talk about low stimulus mornings, what I do, especially in these last few weeks, that have helped me not burn out or avoid going fully nonverbal, because sometimes I have not been able to have the foresight that I needed to kind of make sure that I had some guideposts along the way that's going to help me, and sort of like meal prepping for my brain. And I've sort of been completely nonverbal. And I feel like nonverbal is a little bit misunderstood sometimes with neurodivergent and autism. And it's not that sometimes I literally can't speak, though sometimes it is that way. Sometimes it has been bad enough where I have no ability to drum up words. It's very interesting, especially as somebody who chatters on. And I am popular on my social media platforms because of the cadence and how many words I can shove into one single breath. Anyway, sometimes nonverbal for me means that the effort of speaking, especially to another person, but sometimes even one-on-one, feels similar to doing an impossible task, or like when your body is bone tired and you have to do a really strenuous activity, but it's the middle of the night after a day of hiking in the hot sun. That is sometimes where my nonverbalness on my spectrum of autism will land in my adulthood. Is I can speak. However, the effort of thinking and doing it is very difficult. And I didn't want that to happen these last few weeks because I knew that I was going to be meeting a lot of people. I was going to be signing books. There were people coming from out of town. There were people at the author event that drove like 6 hours overnight to come and to see me. And I wanted to put my best, most present self that I am forward. And one of the ways in which I was able to do that was ensuring that I gave myself low stimulus mornings leading up to these big events and then decompressing from these big events. And I would say if there is a key to a low stimulus morning that I think would be applicable, because everybody's going to have their own iteration of what this looks like. I'm going to explain to you what mine is, but I think everybody's going to have their own sort of vibe. I think across the board, though, no screens at all is my immediate way to decompress. Even sometimes, especially at night, morning is not as much of an issue, but especially at night after a long day, sometimes I really do just want to turn my brain off and mindlessly scroll. If I do it for too long or if I lose track of time, it will make things worse. It will not make my brain feel good. And so I really try to cap my screen time at night, even if I've had a long day, even if I have not been on my phone all day, even though it feels good in the moment, because it's not going to feel great the whole time. And that is the first start to my low stimulus morning after kind of a big author event night. I will wake up feeling like I have the flu. I know that this is normal now. Before, when I was undiagnosed, I didn't know that. I didn't know that my body could present physical symptoms so quickly after a big mental load. It does. I know that now. So I will wake up. I won't feel great. I'll take my vitamin supplements. I will sit down and I will have a low stimulus morning. I won't even write, which is what I usually do. So it's a little bit out of routine for me. I will sit there with my planner and my journal and have a morning. I don't even listen to music. I have bird song outside. I will open the windows if I want some type of sound. And I will just kind of sit and stare. And I did have to learn through trial and error that sometimes the ADHD part of my brain that is seeking dopamine and all of that, like a dopamine hit, is not the thing that's going to make me feel better. Even if it's what I am craving in the moment, it's not the thing that's going to make me feel better when I am in kind of red alert, I need low stimulus. There's a part of my brain that is fighting against that, wanting some type of interaction in the morning. If I give into that part, though, in these very specific circumstances, it is not going to be helpful. So I read a nonfiction. And by low stimulus, I also mean low stimulus in like even the paper content I am ingesting. I don't read fantasy. I don't read cozy fantasy. I don't read a romance. I will read nonfiction, most of which it has just become Mary Oliver. I'm such a Mary Oliver person. I don't know. I'm reading her handbook for poetry right now, and I will annotate that. I purposely will read it very slowly because I am somebody who reads and retains information quickly. In these low stimulus mornings, though, I'm really trying to counteract my brain because my brain coming off of a huge event or an event that requires all of me to be very present and to be interacting with people and having multiple interactions along with kind of being the main source of entertainment. My brain coming off of that needs to be evened out. I need to balance it out. So that's what I will do. I will read nonfiction. I will make French press coffee, which is a little bit slower than drip coffee. I move slowly around my house. If you watch me, I look haunted. But it is mindful mindlessness a little bit, in that I am really trying to not meditate exactly, but be meditative in that which I do anyways in the mornings, in my routine that I like but just changing it up a little bit. And I think that's one of the things that is the key for me as a neurodivergent and for a lot of other people who I have talked to, is that when you need a hard reset, when I need my brain to relax itself, I can't do something that I usually don't do. I just need to change the things that I usually do. I am not going to find relaxation in going to a spa. I'm not going to find relaxation in doing something really different with my morning, even if it could be very relaxing. I can't take a hot bath in the morning because it's not what I usually do. So I need the morning routine that I usually have for myself. I just need to switch and take the edge off that. And that way I am treating myself with kindness and intentionality and really taking care of myself. Because if you think about it, I mean, you know, if my kiddo is sick or my kiddo is having a really bad day, what I'm going to do are the things that I know that he likes, possibly in different ways though. So if he is not feeling his 100% self, he's not going to want to go outside and metal detect for 4.5 hours like he might on a day where he's 100% himself. But if he's coming home and he's had a bad day, or he's stressed, or he's emotional for whatever reason, we might take that essence of discovery, of being in the earth, and just do something gentle that's not going to require him to, you know, there's not going to be frustration elicited from it. And it is showing him that he is known, that he is loved, and that what I know that he loves, I am able to adapt to possibly his needs. And I have to be able to do that for myself as well. And I'm coming to this time in my life, and I'm really, really grateful that I am experiencing this amount of, not publicity, but this amount of interacting with so many different people and at so many differing scales, whether it's a group of 17 people or a group of, you know, a couple hundred or more, when I have learned these boundaries for myself. Because when I was in my early to mid 20s and I was undiagnosed, or I had a fresh diagnosis, I did not know what I needed at all. And because I didn't know, I forced myself over and over into perpetual burnout. And I was in this really rigorous cycle of, I would wake up and I was already so stressed, upset, anxiety out the roof, that I would just thrust myself into high demand projects, activities. I would self-perpetuate those for myself if I needed, because it matched where my brain was at. And in that, it took the edge off, because it was so blindingly harrowing and upsetting in my body. My cortisol levels had to be wild. And at the height of it, I was losing hair, I wasn't sleeping, all of that stuff. And it took me doing a lot of inner child work. It took me, you know, corroding some of my relationships, either with myself or others around me, to realize that that was not normal, that was not good, that was not sustainable for a life in which I was going to be happy to return to. I didn't want to always live in a cycle wherein if I remained still for any amount of time, I would fall apart. And so I had to learn over years of therapy, of learning who I am, of dealing with all of this stuff, because that's my survival mode that I was in for 25 years of my life. I'm 29. So it was really just the last 4 years. And honestly, truly, the last year that I really felt like I failed my way into finding what was successful for me. And I think that is okay. So again, in creating like a low stimulus morning for autistic authors, which is such a niche situation, or anybody who's neurodivergent that has some type of public facing situation, or, you know, other daily stresses and stuff, it is okay to try things and they don't work. That is fine. That's completely fine. And it was something that I had to learn the hard way. I have never not learned anything the hard way. I have said that before and I will say it over and over again. There is not a single lesson in my life I haven't learned on hard to impossible mode. Okay? The only time a mode was ever easy was when I stuck that thick, gorgeous game into my Game Boy. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what the game modus operandi is called for a Game Boy, but I would pick easy mode on those, or I would pick maybe intermediate, but I wanted to win and I wanted to have fun doing it. I didn't want it to elicit frustration. My life doesn't do that. I love to do it the hard mode. And one of that is I would get so frustrated with myself when something wouldn't relax me or something wouldn't help or it would do the opposite. And I wish I could go back to my former self and be like, hun, you have never been given a single example in your life. You were doing this all by yourself. You have no tools. You were coming into a really late diagnosis after years of these ingrained behaviors that helped you survive. Let's just say that. That helped me 100% live through my childhood, live through my teenage years, live through part of my adulthood where I required that. And I cannot begrudge myself of that. That will not be helpful in any capacity. And so I think letting yourself fail your way into figuring it out. It's the same thing with writing, letting yourself fail through the first draft, letting yourself fail in when you're the most efficient writer or what have you. Because I learned if I do like prompt journaling, that does not relax me. It, for whatever reason, I'll compete with myself. I don't know. And that's really, I think, my biggest obstacle sometimes in letting myself relax is I will think to myself, well, I did it better yesterday, or I felt better yesterday, or I remember a few weeks ago, if I had just done XYZ, or if I hadn't been on my phone. I'm really easily able to get into a negative diagnostic loop of, oh, I would feel better quicker if I had just done XYZ like I did this other time. I'm constantly treating myself like a formula, and I'm not. I'm a human. I fluctuate in my abilities, my feelings, all of that. And so these low stimulus mornings are so much an experiment that I'm really genuinely proud that I've finally gotten to, because I'm so stubborn in every aspect of my life. It's a miracle I got to this place. So I guess I'm coming off of being like impressed with myself that I have learned exactly what I need, because it kept me afloat these last few weeks. And another version of myself would have really, really had a hard time. Now, I will say that the neighbor, helped a lot with that. He cooked all of my meals. He was very tuned into my needs, and my goal was to keep forging ahead, and he provided me sustenance, and I appreciate that. Everybody needs to have somebody who mysteriously refills their bowls of soup, whether physically or metaphorically. And that was very helpful. So those are my low stimulus mornings. I'm gonna explain to you, tip to taint, if you will, exactly what I do. I wake up early, okay? Because I need time to load in. I need time. 6. Sometimes I have tried to sleep this week into 7 because I know sleep is also going to help me, but I don't want to be rushed. Wake up at 6. All right. I putter downstairs. I make my coffee. I put all the dishes away nice and slow. I'm not listening to anything. If I am going to listen to something, it's going to be BBC Radio's Garden Podcast, or it's going to be Nothing Much Happens, which is it's actually a sleepy time podcast, but I love listening to it in the mornings if I really, really need sound. I make my coffee. I go sit on my couch with my little poetry handbook and my journal and my planner. And sometimes I just sit there in silence for a while, and it's awesome. And then I will sip on that. I will suckle on my coffee for sometimes like an hour or more, just writing and puttering. I might get on my laptop, not to engage with social media, but just to check some cozy emails. I might look at some cozy pictures on Pinterest. For whatever reason, being on my laptop isn't as stimulating as being on my phone. I try to avoid my phone in the morning. And then I'll eat my yogurt oatmeal concoction in silence, staring at the wall, listening to the birds. And eventually, at some point along the way, my symptoms will alleviate. My sore throat will go away. My aches and pains will go away. I'm able to think clearly. I can genuinely feel the fog lift off of my body. And one, that is because I discovered what helps. But two, I really do think it's my inner self thanking my outer self because I'm taking care of her. I, just like I would my kid, have learned what she needs in this time, and I am giving her everything I can and doing it gently and without putting unnecessary deadlines and goals on myself. And that is the kind of the essence of my low stimulus morning. No overhead lights ever, but I actually don't turn on. I will light a candle and I will turn on my little oven light. That's the only light I have. I mean, it is, if you walked into my house, you would be like, this is The Conjuring with no soundtrack and no jump scares. But the vibe is kind of here because it's an old farmhouse and there's just this woman looking holed out, gaunt on her couch. I have my heated blanket on. Doesn't matter how hot it is outside. The first thing I am putting on my body is cozy clothes and a heated blanket and textures that are nice to me. And I sit in the same spot on my couch. And it genuinely has helped me so much. And I think that's where I really always try to pitch that ADHD and autism for a creative does not have to be the obstacle to your creativity. It can be a superpower. And I'm really grateful that as much as I can get depressed if I'm out of routine, a morning of getting back into my routine will alleviate the depression. And it is nice that I'm able to do that without, as of now, I'm not against medication, but as of now, without medication, because it is an autism thing. It is how my brain processes. And if I can do that, I can help alleviate a lot of the symptoms that plague me. And that's nice. I count that as a superpower. If I give myself 2 hours of quiet time, bird chirping, a little bit of journaling, some poetry in the morning, I feel better. That is awesome. It took me a long time to get there, but I really, really appreciate that I'm able to do that. Sometimes I paint. Every once in a while I paint, but sometimes I don't want to because I really have to be careful with comparing myself to other versions of myself. So that is my low stimulus author thing. I don't know if this is going to be applicable for anybody, but I think if there is one takeaway that I'm hoping for this little cozy, whimsical episode is that creating whimsy, cozy comfort in our life sometimes takes failure. And I don't think failure has to be a bad word, but you're discovering so much, it's like a treasure hunt. You're not going to find treasure every time you put your metal detector on the ground. Okay. Even though I was guaranteed that as a teenager, as a child, that I was going to find treasure because all treasure is going to be metallic. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, that is okay to discover what works for you and what doesn't. I think that a lot of times on social media, a lot of stuff is sort of pitched as the hack or the way, or this supplement will help you do this thing that you've been seeking for. But we're all human. We all have such different needs. It might not. And that does not mean that I'm broken. It means I need something else. Just like the flowers in my garden. I would never, ever, ever in a million years treat my hellebore like I would my zucchini. Do you know what I mean? And for you gardeners, that does carry a lot of weight. Okay? That's just the way that it goes. And that's okay. And we're all like that. All right? So be gentle with yourself. Be cozy. Get yourself a little low stimulus morning. If you want to invest in a low stimulus morning, I would say go thrift yourself a giant cozy mug with the perfect hand feel and a really nice low light, warm light lamp if you need a little bit of something, or a candle. I mean, give yourself the Victorian haunted woman ghost child experience of your dreams every day. Every day I tell thee, okay? Okay, fantastic. Now, what I'm reading, writing, listening to in the news that doesn't matter. What I'm reading, oh, the Mary Oliver Handbook of Poetry. It is so pretty, I swear to you it is. I can't help it. It's so lovely. I feel like a commoner for liking Mary Oliver. I don't really say it to people who like poetry because I feel like a lot of people who like poetry, they're always really intense about not liking Mary Oliver. I don't care. Poetry and music, I like what I like. I hate talking to people who love poetry and music because it seems like people who love it actually hate it. I don't understand. I used to have a friend who was very haughty about ew, you listen to that? And I was like, what pleasure does that bring you to do that? Anyhow, that's mainly what I'm reading, but I have a few things on my TBR that I have not read, one of which is Redwall, That Little Mouse by Brian Jacques. In Shakespeare, we say Jacques. Well, it's up in the air. There's multiple pronunciations of it. But anyways, I really want to read Redwall. I really want to read Yesteryear. And I really want to read Kitchens of the Great Midwest by J. Ryan Straddle. Those are on my one to read. And I'm still finishing up The Enchanted Greenhouse. And it's very lovely. And I'm just microdosing it because it's very cozy and very fun. And I'm also reading a bunch of the stuff that I am, doing. What I am listening to, girl, you know I'm on my garden podcast stuff. You know I'm on it, okay? I have been listening to Gardener's World magazine, which is from BBC, and it's so cozy and lovely. And everyone on there sounds like Beatrix Potter. It's the best possible case scenario. Also, I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. If you all don't listen to Happy Wife, Happy Life podcast by my two favorite lesbian comedians in the world, Kendall and Jordan, I don't know what you're doing. I also listen to Caleb Heron, who is also a queer. Queer, we love queers on this, yay. I believe it's Lesbian Visibility Week. Hello, lesbian queens, we love you, we love you. I'm a bisexual and I love all lesbians. That's the deal. That's the tea. And what I'm writing, I, as of today, have begun redrafting in earnest my Shakespeare academic romance about two Shakespeare professors vying for the same tenure track position. I have a self-imposed deadline of June 15th for that one because I already have the first draft written. I need to take the bones from that and make them anew into this one. And I'm really excited. I just finished. It's not quite a prologue to the book, but I got my opening chapter down and I'm very excited. My goal for that is to be in 80 to 85K. I really want to challenge myself to be quite pithy. And if we want to add, I have room to add. I don't want to keep drilling myself into a hole of I have things to add, but now I need to find things to cut. I hate that. And I do it all the time. I mean, I can't stop doing it. So that's what I'm reading, writing, listening to. I'm listening to, on music, I'm listening to a lot of Appalachian music as I get my garden growing. You all, I have to tell you this. I had the coziest experience yesterday. I got on Facebook Marketplace and I saw that this older woman had posted that she had hellebore transplants for only $4 each. And hellebore is hella expensive and it's also poisonous. You have to wear gloves. Please make sure to wear gloves. And I am making cozy garden patches all around my yard. So I have little pop-up gardens of whimsy and each one has a theme. And under my Japanese maple, it's sort of like gnomish mushroom getaway. And I needed some hellebore under there because hellebore makes me like gnomes and fairies. There's a sense of impishness, mischievousness, kind of cursed coziness. And hellebore is very much like that to me. And I went there and it was the most magical experience. And she ended up being from England and what has seen my work on stage. And it was so sweet. It was like the most delightful, cozy experience. I don't know, everybody, there's mundane magic around every corner. I can't help it. I can't help but see it. I'm a lover girl. I'm a lover girl for magic and whimsy. I can't help it. Okay? So, garden is growing. I've got carrots in the veggie patch, which is very exciting. My other raised beds I'm waiting for because we are not past our first frost date yet. And so I'm not going to plant my zucchini or my squash until that. And I don't want to do a bunch of stuff in my flats. I'm probably going to do a lot of marigolds in there and some tomatoes, but I'm not a huge tomato girl. We are not a big tomato family. And so I want to try to grow some, but I just want to make sure I'm growing stuff that I'm actually going to eat. So that's what we're doing. Anyhow, that's a garden update. I hope you all have a lovely, cozy week. And big news is that when this podcast publishes, my 2 trips to Ireland, so my Cozy Adventures in Ireland, and then the other Cozy Adventures in Ireland, one is in August, one is in October, those are on huge sale right now. You get $300 off the trip starting tomorrow and just for a few days. So I will drop that link in the bio and such. Snag your spot, bring a friend. The world is chaotic. Let us try to find some whimsy as much as we can if you want to. And we're going to go on a book crawl in Dublin. We're going to go on a fiber crawl in October in also Dublin. So let's do this. Let's do this, everybody. We're going to talk about writing. We're going to talk writing routines. We're going to talk about cozy fantasy, all of that stuff over there, over across the pond. Anyhow, I hope you read a good book this week. I hope you see a beautiful flower this week. And I hope you have a cozy day. Bye.